What's up, traders? Welcome back to the channel. It's just a couple days away from a brand new year this year. We got Bitcoin down on the lows. Everybody's scared Bitcoin's going to zero or 30,000. Who knows, right? Well, we're going to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at the long term. We're going to take a look at what are we looking for here on the near term. Are there any trades to be had? Should you be buying? Should you be selling? We're going to get all that good stuff. So make sure you stick around. First and foremost, it's exactly 9:01 a.m. So we're 30 minutes or 29 minutes away from the bell. Current price action is as such. We opened the week. We dropped under the weekly open. We are now retesting that weekly open. So Monday open, you had a nice little pump during the Asian session at the very beginning of the daily candle range. And then, of course, Twitter was aghast with all the market manipulation that's going on out there, all the big whales dumping and yada, 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 right? Instead of actually just anticipating that. Where did that rejection come? At the exact place where I told my community to look for shorts. So, I mean, it wasn't a manipulation, or we were involved in that manipulation as well. But anyway, here you are retesting the weekly open right now. It rejected at the December open. Like, you had a pump, it pumped up to December's open, and it's where the sellers are, guys. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you look at the daily chart, you're going to see that December's open has literally been holding as resistance since it's been here. Like, you lost it right there. You've not been able to close a single day candle back above the December open since you lost it on the December the 14th. Now, with that being said, we did look at the monthly volume. So if we only pull up the month of December and look at the volume profile, you'll see that up here was the point of control. This volume node right here was the point of control. We lost it. We dropped down into this area. And now, as you can see, well, you can't because it's back to being white. It should be red. Let me change that real quick. Now you can see that POC has migrated lower. Now, typically I would look at that as a negative conclusion simply because price rejected the POC the first time and traded down. So the fact that the volume migrated lower, it could be buyers buying support. It could also be sellers coming down at lower prices. All right. Right now, there is a slight delta. If you look just above my little plus symbol right there, 37.25K, that is a slight bullish delta. Not much of anything to be read there. But the fact that the point of control has migrated lower down in the range, it literally just means we've been trading here for over a week, back and forth, right? So a lot of volume is accumulated down here. So if Bitcoin were to lose this area with some steam behind it, with actual momentum, that would be a little bit concerning. But the simple fact is that Bitcoin has not been able to lose that area. That is weekly support, by the way. It has been there the whole entire time that we've been trading in this range. So it's just been a lot of range-bound trading, sell into resistance, buy into support, and that's basically been the trade for the entire month of December. If we look at the actual delta volume, cumulative delta volume indicator down here, you can see that it's very, very neutral. If I go into the 4-hour time frame, I don't actually... Oh, I know what happened. Let me fix this. It actually got... I just updated it, and that's what happened. So my updated version it no longer has my lines. But here, I'll just mark it out for you here. Alt H, and then Alt H down here as well. So you can see basically volume has dried up. We had a lot of big volumes on the down days, and then continuation of big volume. And that's what you need to see for a trending move to take place. Right here's the December open, and you can see how volume basically just fell off a cliff for the entire month. Like on the bullish days, you couldn't spend more than one day above that line. Same goes for the bottom, like on the sell side. There's no sellers or buyers, no aggressive sellers or buyers here. So we basically just chopped around inside last month's range. It does look weak. If you are a technical trader, if you're going to trade the signal and not your emotion, the trade is a short. It's a short at resistance as long as you're trading under the December open. That is the area you would be looking to short. If you think that this week is going to be a negative week, you would be selling here or just above there, right here today. So 87,871. If price gets up into there at the bell and rejects, that would be the sell side entry. If it continues to push, you would eat your stop and wait till last week's open comes into play. But at that point, you will no longer be as bearish on the weekly range as you are right now. Now, with that being said, we got that big bearish move. You got no continuation from it. Not yet. Maybe you do today. Maybe the continuation shows up today and then it finally gets going. But I have to ask myself this simple question. Why are the sellers backing off? Why are they so eager to jump in at December's open and so quick to take those positions off down at weekly support? That's a valid question to ask. That lets me know that the sellers just do not have the confidence that this thing is going much lower. Now, that could change, obviously. All we need is a tweet from President Trump or something come out, just some negative bearish newsprint could come out and change everything. But as of right now, you are not seeing any confidence on the buy side or the sell side in a trending fashion. Now, Bitcoin has been extremely buyable for a very long time, as you have been basically in the massive fear side of the fear and greed indicator forever. Like, it seems like since November, we've been in extreme fear and it hasn't moved. Whereas the stock market almost ticked up to greed, or was in the greed category last week. Not extreme greed yet, but it did get up into the 50s. So the stock market's fine. Bitcoin still a little weak. We're not seeing that huge demand come in here. You should be a buyer, in my opinion, at support. That is if you're trying to catch an upside move on Bitcoin, or if you believe Bitcoin long term. Like if you think that 5 years from today, Bitcoin will be worth a lot more money than it is today, then you should be buying support here. As we don't know if we're going to go lower. It looks like it wants to go lower, but as I've said, we've not seen that consistent sell side pressure stick with it. So I have to ask why. Now, it could be that it's being accumulated. They are trying to break it down and it's being accumulated, or it could just be they're waiting for January the 15th. Why January the 15th, you ask? January the 15th is when the MSCI is going to make their decision on whether or not MicroStrategy will stay inside of an index product like the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. Now, obviously, companies, when they have their product or their stock ticker in an index like the NASDAQ or the S&P, they get flows from that index. So it is a benefit for MicroStrategy to be in the index products. It will be a massive, massive hit if MicroStrategy is taken out as far as flows are concerned. Option flows, that stuff, right? All the volume. MicroStrategy basically, it definitely helps them being inside of an index product. So January the 15th is when we'll get the final word on that. The rumor going around the internet is they will be taken out. They will be taken out. That's the rumor. So if that comes true, January 15th, you're probably going to see MicroStrategy, the stock dip further, and you will likely see Bitcoin roll over and go down further. So you should be positioning yourself for potential downside breaks if you hold long positions only. So if you're a trader, then you don't really give a shit. You're like me. We don't really care which direction Bitcoin goes. With that being said, I do own Bitcoin. And the more that I do in-depth research on Bitcoin, I honestly believe that it's too much of a risk not to own Bitcoin. So the way that I look at it, and the way everybody should look at it, if you want to own it, is just own it with an amount of money that if it were to go to zero, it wouldn't affect your daily life. Obviously, if I lost all the money that I have in Bitcoin, I would be extremely upset. I'd be very, very pissed off, but I would still be able to operate as I don't touch my Bitcoin wallet ever. So I have it sitting here on my desk, but it's always just sitting there. I'm never using it like I should be. I should be buying stuff with Bitcoin. I should be moving Bitcoin in and around. I should be running a node. And I am going to do all of that stuff in 2026. Because I am, the more that I do research on this product, becoming more and more of a Bitcoin maximalist. And the easiest way for me to explain this to you is very, very simple. There is an indicator that I have here that basically tells the entire story. If you look at Bitcoin on the monthly, obviously this thing only goes up, or it has trended up. All right. We look at Bitcoin on log because if you don't look at it on the log chart, it looks absolutely ridiculous as an asset. But if you look at it on log, it looks good, and it looks like what it was designed to do, right? When this asset was designed, it was designed to do exactly what it's doing. Stay inside of the power law. So until Bitcoin loses the power law correlation, for me, I will always be holding long Bitcoin positions forever, right? This thing could have no other asset, no other financial asset on the planet is respected by the power law. And Bitcoin's fundamental principles that make Bitcoin Bitcoin is the reason why it has consistently stayed in the power law. Now, occasionally you get massive overshoots of, crazy speculation. And then there are also times when you get massive undershoots because of crazy speculation. But long term, it has stayed in the power level or power law like structure, the format. It fits, it works good. And if you look at it as in terms of mass adoption, then obviously we're nowhere near where Bitcoin has the potential to go. So until we're consistently breaking under and outside of this power law, and then putting in like a year and a half, maybe even a half a year, not a year and a half a year under it, let's say you break it, it fundamentally breaks from the power law structure, then you can sell it if you want, right? But as long as it's staying in it, and it has been staying in it since it became a publicly traded asset, it has stuck well within it. Very well. And no other financial asset on the planet has ever done that. So this asset is truly special because of just that reason alone. It is mind-bending how you can basically build this asset, throw it out there, let the world vote on it. Like, that's all Satoshi did when he envisioned it. He envisioned it based on the '08 financial collapse and said, we need a more fundamental, sound thing to use as money. Let me build it real quick and drop it on the world and let them decide if they want to use it or not. They did. They have decided. We are now in 2026, and Bitcoin is still firmly planted inside of that power law structure, which means, mathematically speaking, Bitcoin is right. It has been voted on by the public, and the public agrees. Bitcoin's amazing, and it's probably going to be a moonshot. So until it loses this structure, I will be a Bitcoin maxi. But with that being said, I love shorting Bitcoin when it's volatile. The majority of the money that I have in cold storage, I made in 2022 when I shorted it because inflation was skyrocketing, because the Fed was going to start hiking interest rates, right? Because we were going into a bear market, market-wide, not just Bitcoin-wide. It was market-wide. We were uber bears back then, when Bitcoin basically accumulated right here and put in this 4-month sideways pattern. Everybody else was calling this Wyckoff accumulation, not me. I was telling people this is going to be a short opportunity, and it ended up being a good one. Now, you could argue that it broke down a lot deeper than it should have based on massive exchanges being liquidated and shutting down, Celsius, FTX, and I would argue with you that that's probably right. So that would need to take place again for you to get a secondary leg lower. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin isn't going to make a secondary leg lower. We already know that on January 15th, we're probably going to see some volatility. So be ready for that. Mark it on your calendar, mark it on your chart. 15th of January, that's when the SCI is going to make that determination. And that is why volume has dried up on this product, I would assume. Or, that's a good enough reason for me to anticipate nothing major is going to happen until then. So as long as that's going on, we're just trading the ranges here. Now, I made a post on Twitter the other day that said, in my opinion, you should probably be buying Bitcoin. And if you want to be selling something, you should probably be selling alts. I firmly stand behind that right here on this post. I firmly stand behind that. We were actually looking to short Fartcoin the other day because Fartcoin was the one that was up more in the structure, in the range. It was up higher, if you will. It was showing us that it was bullish last week. It was actually making a bullish expansion, breaking out to the upside. So we were looking for the short on Fartcoin, not Bitcoin, because we think that if, Fartcoin is obviously not ever going to be a financial product in the future. It is mainly used as a speculation vehicle. So if Bitcoin is going to roll over and make a secondary bearish leg lower, then something like Fartcoin would be a fantastic product to be in. Whenever we got that Black Swan event on Bitcoin back early in October, when we liquidated $10 billion worth of long leveraged positions on this day, that was the biggest Black Swan event ever in Bitcoin's history. That day, we were short Pingu at the weekly open. We literally caught that entire 80% drop on Pingu. So, yeah, if Bitcoin's going to roll over from here and make that bigger leg lower, that's where you should probably be looking to, because you're not going to see an 80% drop on Bitcoin. You could see an 80% drop on something like Fartcoin. You know what I mean? But anyways, with that being said, yeah, I think if you're looking for shorts today on Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's going to roll over right here, right now, what it's currently doing would typically be good enough. If it continues to pump above that, then you're waiting for a liquidation run above the December swing high or this current swing high. If it's going to roll over from here, it could roll over right now. You literally could be jumping in a short right now. I don't know what it's going to do. Make sure you have your risk adjusted, situated. This way you don't lose a lot of money if it does spike. Now, Bonk, I'm looking to actually be a buyer here because it is another useless altcoin, another altcoin that's just a meme token. It doesn't have any real world case or any like value as far as I'm concerned, and it probably never will. But the reason that I am looking for the long is simple. We've seen massive volumes on this, and we've seen big breakdowns occur. And then since we've been in this range, we've seen pretty heavy sell side volumes, and you've not been able to break down. So I'm kind of wondering if there isn't a big buyer soaking up these orders down here. Obviously, if it breaks down, I'll get stopped out, right? But if it doesn't break down and it does rip, like if Bitcoin rips Thursday because it's the year open, then I want to be positioned long in something that could also see a massive spike. I don't know that Bonk will do it, but I just like Bonk the best because of what I'm seeing with volume and everything else. Like it's literally refusing to die. It could give up the ghost in the future, but as of right now, it's like literally refusing to give it up. And I have to ask myself why. That question is always on the back of my mind. Why is it not? I mean, to be honest with you, it isn't worth much now. So, I mean, you could potentially just buy a few of these things with spot and zero leverage. If we're going to see a rally soon, then I would assume these things will probably out rally Bitcoin, just because the shorts will be squeezed hard. Potentially, you see right now, Bonk is literally rolling over as Bitcoin is making that upside swing. This is a potential buying op, right? It's a potential buying op. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on a small position here with a wide stop. And I am long Bonk, just a couple $100, just a small position. There is not much volume out there. So when you have thin markets, thin liquidity, you can see really large moves in either direction or in both directions. I mean, that move on Bitcoin Sunday night was a pretty sizable move. That is going to be your daily open. And from the open to the high is 3%. So you did that on a Sunday night. So, yeah. And then Monday morning during the Asian or London session, they knocked it back down, which makes sense. Usually big giant spikes like that get retraced. And that's what you've done. You retraced it. You've fallen right back down to support. So here would be the area to put the short on. It's a little early. Oh, no, actually it's not. I've been rambling for 24 minutes. So, oh, you're good. I mean, the market's getting ready to open. So we'll see it it'll either reject here and start heading lower. And you're going to get a chance to sell the close as there's 5 minutes left on the close. That is if you want to be a seller. Obviously, I don't want to buy Bitcoin at the high of day, which is what this is right now. If you put your session volume profile on, you'll see that wick right there just made the high of day. Now, I don't necessarily want to be a buyer at the high of day. I'd rather be a buyer close to the low of day. The only asset that is trading right now at the low of day or near it is Bonk. Now, obviously, if you were trading this like a computer, you would be a seller because you were closing dailies under the daily 21. You are trending under the monthly VWAP. You are trending under the weekly VWAP. Like, it's weak, dude. You know what I mean? It's weak. It just hasn't been able to break down. So the sellers are getting just of annoyed with this price action as buyers is. It ain't just one side of the market that's being screwed with here. It's both sides. And that typically happens in price discovery as the market is testing areas of liquidity to decide which side of the market is going to be exhausted. Is it going to be the buy side that gets exhausted? Is it going to be the sell side that gets exhausted? Once that exhaustion occurs, you're going to see a massive repricing in the opposite direction. So if the sellers get exhausted, you're going to see a big bullish rip. If the buyers get exhausted, you're going to see a big drop, right? And that's probably coming soon. Looking at MicroStrategy's price action, the bounce off of support, like this would have been kind of support. There's your like liquidation move and rally out of the support area. So basically what we would have to do is right now you're literally trading under last month's low. So that would have been the first primary area of support, right? And then you open the December month, and then you go back into price discovery, and notice this, like you've been closing weeks under. The last 2 weeks have been closing under November's low. So it kind of feels like the market wants to go lower, right? And the bounces have been getting smaller as your weekly highs, weekly high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So it does look like the sellers are grinding this range out and about to win. It looks like that. So a drop could be coming. A sizable one could be coming. We don't know. That's the beauty of the markets. And then it could get down there, liquidate last week's low, maybe go a little bit lower and bounce hard out of the air. We don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is the TLT has finally rallied off from that dangerous level of 87.23 that we were watching, right? We don't love where it is pre-market here, but at least it isn't just ramming lower. So we're still kind of sussing out the market here. Last week, this week, then traded weeks. Most of the desks are closed. Most people are celebrating the holidays. It's only like us that's actually trading in this thin environment. Us degens. Yeah, that's who it is. All right, so another thing we were watching, ZEC kind of screwed us out of a short trade yesterday. I didn't love the short yesterday, but it definitely stopped us out. We were looking for the weekly open to hold as resistance. It did not, right? It did not. It exploded to the upside. This range that I have here on with the trend lines, it's just this bottom trend line. And then I cloned it and just moved it up. That's it. You know what I mean? It's a channel. So I did take another short on it yesterday, but I feel as if though I'm going to close that. I'm not really seeing what I wanted to see out of this because XMR is the leader in the sector and had a couple negative days. You've seen the opposite on ZEC. The last 3 days on XMR red, last 3 days on ZEC green. So kind of seeing the opposite. So when the opposite of what we're expecting to take place happens, then that's a pretty good indicator that our bias is incorrect. I'm not saying that Zcash is going to roll over and die here or anything like that. I was just looking for a scalping opportunity on it. So I got stopped out yesterday. I reapplied the short up near that 4-hour swing high because it was coming into a resistance area. And if you look at the session volume profile, you can see that the sellers were in fact attacking that price. So I put the short back on in anticipation that it would pull back. But I honestly thought that I would wake up this morning and this wick would have been much lower. The fact that it's still trading inside of yesterday's breakout range is very, very concerning for me to hold that short. All right. Point of control here is coming into the area of 4-hour resistance. And at least today, your deltas are more slightly negative than it was yesterday. So yesterday's price action, when we came into the New York session, deltas were slightly positive, right? The zero line is the neutral line. So if you're trading above that, you're positive delta. If you're trading below it, you're negative delta. So at least today, we have a little bit of negativity when it comes to deltas, and the POC is in the right place. Another thing that I kind of did like, but no longer like, is we closed a 4-hour candle back under the weekly VWAP, that green line right there. So what I was kind of hoping is that this was going to end up becoming a bullish trap. That has not played out yet. It will only play out if we take out those lows. Of course, I don't want to be shorting those lows. So if I assume that's going to play out, I want to be short up here or here. I mean, I wouldn't love it, but you get a higher close, I'm not going to like it. I want this 4-hour close to be lower than this one, but I don't always get what I want. I don't always get what I want, especially when it comes to trading ZEC and XMR. These things do not trade technically as good as, say, something like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Fartcoin does, right? These things are much different because they're privacy tokens, and XMR doesn't even trade on exchange like Coinbase and Binance. The world's largest exchanges do not offer XMR or Monero. The only way you can trade it is on a derivatives product, or you can buy the spot price of XMR if you go on a different exchange, right? It's weird, but that's the reason they don't trade so good technically. But if you look at them on the weekly, that's where I would have expected it to reject last week's high. I would love to see that hold as resistance. So this is literally my line in the sand here. It's also an old daily swing high right here. If you go in even lower, there's going to be 4-hour resistance over there. That's what that line is coming from. But I'm just looking at it as a potential liquidation run above that swing high, and then a reversal. But this is very bullish on the near term. Your entire month of December, which starts here, literally the last or second to last day it went down, it's been going up. That's not a bearish signal. If you look at this on the monthly, you're literally trading inside of November's very volatile range. So there's nothing to go by up here in terms of objective levels to look to even be short from. Though it's a risky short. I don't advise it. Or if I was a money manager, I would definitely not advise any of my clients to be shorting Zcash. But if you are a trader and you are good at managing your own money, then I'm looking for Zcash to roll over here. But the pressure is definitely to the upside. Yesterday, we should have probably seen that rejection, as there was a point in time when you were trading as a bearish engulfing daily candle. So if you couldn't get the sellers to jump in on it yesterday when you were a bearish engulfing, you're probably not going to see those sellers show up here either. You know what I mean? So be careful with it. That's basically it. Another trade that we were looking at for the short yesterday that did not work was pound CAD. Let me get rid of these moving averages. So basically, as delineated by the orange lines on my chart, you can see that your daily 21 AMA is down here. Your weekly 21 EMA is up here. Those are the right places for this asset today. So I shorted it yesterday, got stopped out, and this had to do, pound has a little bit bigger weighting inside of the DXY than the Canadian loonie does, or the Canadian dollar. So the pound is going to have a heavier weighting with whatever the dollar does. So not including any macro stuff about the Great British Pound or the Canadian loonie, just going by in terms of what the DXY is doing, the pound has a little bit bigger of a weighting. So if the dollar's going down, then that's going to inherently give pound a strength. It's going to make it stronger. And since it has a heavier weighting than the Canadian dollar does, then it would be stronger than the Canadian dollar. So it is actually testing an area of potential support here. If you have a dollar bearish bias or a weak dollar bias, then that's going to give pound strength. You could, in theory, be a buyer here. The setup on Sunday when we did the members only live stream was a short. That's what we came up with. That's the way it looked. And I decided as long as it's trading under last week's low, I could in fact look for that short. Now, obviously, it has been trading very sideways for a very long time. So the breakout to the upside or the breakdown could be violent and could give us a nice trending move here. So I'm already holding the short. I'm not going to try to flip my bias and get bullish here, but I got stopped out of it yesterday, reapplied it this morning when it put in this swing high up into daily res. So daily res is here. That's basically, it's actually different on forex.com. Daily res is actually closer to today's high. But if you just look at what it did yesterday, you broke out back above the daily 21. Today, you are currently retesting that as support. Now, in a sideways choppy environment like this, averages, whether it's a price moving average or a volume moving average, an average is not going to be helpful, generally speaking, because you're sideways, you're choppy, right? And averages work better in trending environments. So even though I have a short on here, that short, if I'm wrong, is going to get stopped out. You could, in theory, put on a bullish position here by looking at daily demand. That would be an objective level to kind of help you put risk on. If you're not in the short already, if you're already in the short, if you decided to short it based on a weekly 21 EMA retest, well, then you're just hold the short because it is looking good now. I would much rather it be down around the day low coming into the New York session than being at the day high coming into the New York session. Because we were here yesterday going into the New York session and it broke out to the upside. So, yeah, I don't know what it's going to do, but I am short pound CAD. I think this could be a good trade later on next week. So let it just chop around here this week. Maybe look at it next week. If you're consistently closing days back above the 21, then look to be a buyer. Because the longer term, you could see like a BART pattern here. Obviously, it broke down, went into a long period of consolidation. We would be anticipating that breakdown would continue, but this breakdown happened in only 2 days. Oh, if you look at it, like the seriousness came from these 2 days. And that's where you saw like a really big bout of Canadian dollar strength. And that brought you down into this consolidation. So if you were going to see this have downside continuation, it should have already happened. This is literally, people are buying down in here because they're assuming a bullish breakout is coming. So it's a difficult, I mean, Forex is difficult to trade. If you're not good at managing risk, maybe stay out of the Forex market, but it's difficult because you're trading two different currencies, and a macro thing can come out about one of those currencies and totally wreck your technical bias. It makes it a little bit difficult. All right, so what's Bitcoin doing? Okay, yeah, Bitcoin is reversing here, and so is Bonk. So that Bonk long not doing good here. We got the close and we're pushing lower. I typically don't want to see that. If this is going to be like a trap move, I would want to see this candle open and just slowly start heading back in the upward direction. You're not getting that. You're getting downside continuation here. But yeah, so that's probably going to be stopped out. The reason I haven't closed it yet is because we just liquidated the day low. Actually, you did not liquidate the day low on this exchange, which is Coinbase. But on the week's exchange, on the futures product, we have liquidated the day low. This candle is the daily open. So here, I'll just show you. I'll show you. Right here. So that's that same candle. That's your daily low right there. So Bonk just liquidated that and bounced. That's why I didn't take it off. Also, I'm in a very small position, so I can afford to set in a little bit more volatility here. But if it continues, like closing 5-minute candles below this point, then I'm going to get out. Then it's going lower. I don't like the structure. I think it looks like absolute dog doo here. I think you should be shorting the swing highs, not looking to buy swing lows on this product. It is garbage. It is all of that stuff. But I just don't want to let my sell side bias stop me from getting in at least on one rally, if you will. But these are the only positions I have on right now. I also have on a billion bobs. I don't know what this is. I was making a joke that if it were to just go to $1, I'd be a billionaire the other day, and I just haven't been stopped out of it yet. I'm in it with $6, and I own 7.1 billion tokens. So yeah, that would be the greatest trade on the planet Earth of all time if I took $6 and turned it into 7.1 billion. But that's likely not going to happen. And this thing is absolute garbage. Weeks don't even show you what the real price is over here. It just says 002, 002, 00222. But over here it's trading for like 1835 and 1836. Weeks don't even bother. They're like, this thing is absolute garbage. I got in it over here the other day when it spiked. We were looking for it to hold support in here. Clearly it didn't. It just didn't get to my stop loss. But yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting anything out of this. I'm actually expecting to lose $7.12 more than likely, right? But these are the only product or the only two things that I'm actually in. The ZEC short, I don't understand why that is flashing green. That's weird, but it is what it is. But yeah, I don't love the structure here. Obviously, this is way more bullish than bearish. So I'm actually not anticipating this to break down. But if it does, I'll hold it. And then I got to keep an eye on Bonk, because I don't want this to end up becoming a large loser. So might as well go ahead and set a stop loss. And we're not going to lose more than $30 on it. So yeah, we'll just do that and see what happens. Yeah, I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. If Bitcoin bounces, then I would anticipate Bonk and others to do that as well. And nobody is really anticipating Bitcoin is going to bounce. Yesterday, I was on X, and literally everybody was bearish as you could be. People are scared, or calling it market manipulation, and all the they're just giving themselves a lot of cope. It's literal price discovery. This is how markets work. You test pools of liquidity, and then you extinguish those pools of liquidity and then reprice. So we'll see who wins. We don't know if it's going to be the bulls or the bears, but the technical setup is clearly a sell. Clearly a sell. You had a breakdown last month. Until you take out last month's high, you have to be bearish, right? For the 3-month trend to continue, you would think that would be bearish. You're in the 3rd month, and you're bearish. So it feels bearish. And it feels really bearish because we weren't even able to retrace up into the midpoint of November's range. So we basically found resistance at the 382 retracement of last month's range, which kind of says, hey, this asset is a lot weaker than you think. And then obviously the yearly opening range has been the resistance point for this entire month. So there you go. Yearly open resistance, resistance, resistance. So that's what we're going to do next year. So on Thursday, wherever this thing is trading, it could be trading up here, it could be trading down here. It doesn't really matter. When Thursday we get a new yearly open, we're going to see what Bitcoin does then. If Bitcoin comes out the gate weak at the very beginning of the year and spends, a lot of time trading under the yearly open, then we would be looking to be a seller on futures, right? For the day trades and the week trades. I still own all of my Bitcoin. Like, I'm not selling my cold storage portfolio. I'm leaving that alone. But for the futures, what I use to trade on a normal basis, that's what I use to pay myself. Obviously, I will continue to be bearish as long as Bitcoin is trading under its yearly opening range, because that's the trend. And then when it gets back above, or if it gets back above, then we'll look at it that way, right? We just have to let price discovery do its thing here, and then we can make decisions on what we're anticipating. As far as macro goes, like, should we have a bullish bias based on the macro? I would argue that inflation isn't high. It's higher than the Fed's 2% target, right? But it isn't like above 5, right? It's not super high. Unemployment, though, has been and is trending higher. And if AI is going to bring a lot more unemployment for the 2026 year, then obviously the unemployment number is going to be a little bit worrisome moving forward, but it's not going to be like the sole beneficiary of a bear market. I think you would need a few other things to kind of go. But yeah, I mean, that unemployment number is a little bit worrisome. And then the next thing that is a little bit worrisome is the yields, because the Fed is cutting rates. So the near-term yields should be going lower, and we should start to see that reflect on the farther out on the curve. Like, eventually we would want to see that 5 and 10 and 20 and 30 year all also start to trend in that direction. So that's going to take a lot of time, obviously, because they're on the long end of the curve. But here on the long end of the curve, it's actually doing the opposite of what the Fed is doing. So don't look at it in terms of days, look at it in terms of months, right? Because we get a rate decision every month or every other month or so. So we've been cutting interest rates for a while. And then for the month of December, you can see the 30-year yield broke back above the previous 2 months' highs. So this is normal volatility still. But in terms of, we definitely don't want to see it put in a strong close like it is right now. Like, there's literally, tomorrow is the close of this. Though if it doesn't start to reject today, which it's likely not going to because there's nobody trading, then you're likely going to see a strong close here. So next month, we're going to open up in here. Does it take out December's high and continue trending up? If that starts to happen, that's going to be a little bit more negative checks in the macro category. So you already have the unemployment number going in the wrong direction, which is up. This is also still going in the wrong direction, which is up. So those two things on the macro have me a little bit worried in terms of, are we going to see a much bigger bearish move in terms of Bitcoin or not, right? Now, with that being said, let's go back to Bitcoin real quick and let me show you something that nobody else has been looking at, or at least nobody has been publicly posting it or looking at it. So that tells me that not many people are looking at it. But let's pull up the VIX here. I know the VIX is a volatility index for the S&P 500. I understand that. And the S&P 500 and Bitcoin right now are not correlated at all. But what is inversely correlated still to Bitcoin is the VIX. So we've been watching the VIX all year long, as we do here in this community. It is very important. It is a powerful signal. If you just, well, I can't do that. So right here, just look at this peak. Here, I'll do it this way. Haha. You look at this peak, this is going to be your yearly open-ish. It's not going to be the exact. Here, I'll do it with the box. The box is going to give us an exact flat line. I don't have to be worried about it being sideways or anything, but it's just for the blue line. It's not for Bitcoin's price. But anyway, notice when Bitcoin topped out here, what happened to the VIX? The VIX exploded above the yearly opening range. And while Bitcoin was making that push into fresh all-time highs, the VIX was making its advance to the upside as well. This was nerve-wracking for us, but not all-out bearish inducing. But still, at the very minimum, some volatility could be underway. And it did. Boom, exploded to the upside, and we put in that black swan event. This price action here on Bitcoin, I would argue, was simply when we put in that black swan event, it literally nuked the market a lot worse than people gave it credit for, because it rolled over and broke down. But also, if you pay attention to what the VIX was doing during all of this, right, it was still spiking. It was still very much elevated. So it dropped down through here. When this happened, we wanted to see Bitcoin breaking back to the upside. We did not get that. This is when we shorted Pingu here. So we didn't miss the top on Bitcoin. We shorted Pingu right there. And Pingu dropped 80%. So we didn't miss the top on Bitcoin. But still, I thought it was going to go up from here. When it rolled over and lost the 21 moving average on this day, that is when I sent the sell signal to the world on the Saturday upload, telling everybody to short Friday's high. This is Friday's high. Right there. So if you got involved there, you're in good shape. Right? But the VIX was also still advancing as we put in this bearish move. Now, the VIX is going the opposite way here. All right. So I can't have a heavy bearish bias on Bitcoin's price action down here as long as the VIX is going the opposite direction, especially since the VIX has been a very, very good tool to look at since October. Now, will the VIX and Bitcoin split up to where the VIX probably won't be a good indicator in the future? Yeah, probably, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. It doesn't matter. That's why I can't get super bearish here. The VIX is literally making fresh yearly lows. And if we go look at the VIX in terms of as a product itself, if you and I were trading it today, right? Let's just type it in. Screw it. So yeah, if we were trading it, I would have a short side bias here on the VIX this week. I would be short on the VIX and looking for shorts on the VIX as long as the VIX is trading under 1526. I would not be bearish Bitcoin unless the VIX is breaking above 1526, unless the VIX is showing me, hey, we're going up. We've taken out last week's high and we're continuing higher. That is a good sell signal for Bitcoin. So as long as the VIX is under that, I can't really have a very near-term bearish bias on Bitcoin now, can I? Right? It has been a very good signal to watch. You can watch the signal yourself. Whenever the VIX is on the lows, can Bitcoin see down days? Of course. Yesterday was a perfect example of that. Yesterday we gapped up to here. So yesterday, as the VIX was trading up to last week's high, we were very cautious on Bitcoin yesterday. But I said to my community, if the VIX rejects here, I would probably have more of a bullish bias on Bitcoin. Now, unfortunately, yesterday, Bitcoin broke down, but it didn't continue. It did break down, it just didn't continue. So let's get rid of the VIX now. You did this, and this yesterday. That's it. You did nothing. Like, this is the candle. This is the 7 a.m. candle. You opened at 7 a.m. right here. This covers the New York Open. Like, that's nothing compared to what it did before that. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, you guys should be buyers here, not sellers. Just based on the VIX. Like, nothing else. If I don't look at any other market or any other macro fundamental reason, there's no freaking way I'm getting bearish Bitcoin here. No way. Like, it doesn't even make money or sense, or sense, S-E-N-S-E, sense, to be bearish here. If you must be bearish on an asset that is up, right? If you must be bearish on something like that 4-hour res signal on Fartcoin over the weekend. Look at this. There you go. That's your open Monday morning, or it happened at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You traded right up to 4-hour res. That would have been your sell signal right there. Had you sold that, kudos, you made money yesterday. Right? So that's where I would be focusing my shorts at, on assets that are up. Because Bitcoin is so down, like it's just a very small short covering rally could have Bitcoin spiking 3, 4, 5% intraday. I don't want to be shorting something that I don't have an edge on. And I don't have a short side edge on Bitcoin right now, regardless of what all the fudsters are saying out there. Regardless of what those people are saying and posting. Like, I think right now the risk to Bitcoin for an aggressive spike is up. That's just how I feel. Now, when Bitcoin gives us that aggressive spike up, if it does show us the inability to trade higher, then we can look for the sell then. But right here, right now, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I could be wrong also, guys. I'm not always right. I don't win every trade I put on. I lose trades a lot, right? I'm just better at managing risk than others are. That's all. That's what separates me from any other person. But I just don't feel like right here, right now is the best short for Bitcoin. All right. Enough of the soapbox talk and the rants. Let's go look for some setups. Okay. Let's see here. So let's go look at the S&P, the sectors. These 4 sectors right here make up 70% of the S&P 500. You can see tech is struggling a little bit, but overall positively structured as you're trading above the December open VWAP. which is means literally that the average volume has been more bullish than bearish, and price agrees with that. The XLC is right coming into making fresh all-time highs. I don't know why that all-time high is way up there. I need the exact all-time high price real quick. Give me a second. 1887. Excuse me, 1886. 1886. All right, so 1887 is it. You're really close to making fresh all-time highs on that. Communication, which is also tech. It's also a tech sector, but it's communications, right? XLF, which is the financials, or AKA banks, up at fresh all-time highs already. And your consumer discretionary, which is kind of looked at more, I guess not so much anymore, but it used to be like, these are your blue chip companies, your dividend companies, and just overall good investments, or a defensive posture. You could even look at it as kind of a defensive posture. It's up at all-time highs as well. So the S&P 500 looks good here. I don't see any. If the VIX is on fresh year lows, it makes sense to me that the S&P is at fresh year highs, right? It just makes sense. So I'm not seeing the bearishness out there that everybody else is. Not on the near term. Maybe later on, and if that unemployment number continues to spike, yeah, I will get more and more bearish as that continues. I'm not going to change my mind. Circumstances will change, and I change with circumstances, right? That's all we can ever do anyway. But the pound CAD trade, not really working out if you were looking for the long. Still not working out for the short really either, as it's not breaking down, and it doesn't have to. Let's go look at the DXY, see what it's doing today. So it's pushing to the upside today. That's why the pound CAD trade is working, simply because the DXY is putting that weakness on the pound. And since the pound is, has more of a weighting in the DXY, it would be affected more than the Canadian dollar would. It's hard to be looking for dollar pairings trades right now because the dollar is in a 7-month range. It is trying to resolve that range, but here at the October Open is a very, very important level for the dollar. So we have a bearish bias on the dollar up here, not down here. But if it fails to go higher than this, then obviously there could be a trade there, like a euro dollar long or something, a pound dollar long. Obviously, you would want to set that up with that setup, make sure that it is structured bullish. I know euro and pound are both structured bullish right here. So yeah, this could be where the dollar rolls over, but I was actually looking for it to spike up into here just to fill that gap, but we know gaps don't have to fill, so it doesn't have to go up there. If this holds, I'll be short the dollar from there. But I do expect it to break down, as rate cuts are typically bearish for the dollar. There are other reasons why I also have a short bear or a dollar bearish bias right here too. But with that being said, it's at support. Okay, it's at support. It needs to break under here before I can start to feel a little bit better about that dollar bearish trade. Then it's got to get down in here. Now we take these lows out down here, I will be heavily bearish dollar. I will be like super bearish dollar, because it's been in this 7-month range. So the longer you stay in a range like this, the bigger the breakdown or breakout could be. So if we do break down out of this range, and when I say this range, I am encapsulating all of these candle body wicks and everything. You break down out of this, you could see a multi-month run to the downside. It doesn't mean you will see that. You could see that. And vice versa. If it gets up above this, you could see a multi-month run to the upside, right? So we want to be positioned for that. We want to be positioned for that. As long as it's here in the middle of this range, there really isn't anything to do as far as I'm concerned with dollar pairings. That's why we were looking for like a trade on pound CAD, because the dollar really ain't included in that. It still will affect what happens to these, but yeah. And then Euro Aussie, same thing, right? Same thing. You are right now breaking down out of a consolidation pattern here. So next month will be a fantastic month to look for Euro Aussie shorts. That will only work if the Aussie continues to be stronger than the Euro. That will only work if that happens. So as of right now, you can see that you have your daily 21 EMA. It's currently under the weekly 21 EMA. Now that happens quite frequently in Forex because Forex is very choppy. But it's still a signal. And they are in the right places. Ish. I did move them yesterday. We haven't really done anything different today yet. Well, I guess they needed to be moved a lot more, huh? But anyway, there you go. So you do have that 21-21 cross. So the daily time frame right now is kind of leading to the downside. We were watching last week's high. We can't get involved on the short down here. We would rather get involved in a short up here. That's not a weekly candle, sorry. It is this week's current high. So an objective price to watch for short side setups on Euro Aussie for me will be weekly supply. 1.76227. If we could spike up into that and reject, I would be looking for that as a short. Now, obviously, if we start closing days back above the weekly 21, then the averages just aren't going to be helpful. But, I mean, it's a topping formation. It's a topping pattern. But once again, in a multi-month range, you're still trading inside of June's range. So until you break out with continuation, you will be in that range. So it's not like a serious breakdown here, right? We're not breaking down yet, but we are breaking under monthly support. So that's kind of good. This month is about to end. That's why next month, I think the setup will be better. Let the setup open. Let it trade up into here. And then hopefully, if all goes as planned, we'll get a candle that looks like this by the end of next month. So I would love to participate in a downside break on this if that happens. So this is a decent one to look at, and it, like I said, they will both be affected by dollar as well because both of them are heavily basketed. The dollar euro is a lot more heavily basketed than any other currency, so it will have, it will probably be affected a lot more by the dollar. So if the dollar does rally, this would be weaker. Just, you can look at currency futures. I actually have a currency futures watch list here if you want to build one yourself. These are all the majors. You can just pause the video and build your watch list here, and then obviously you're going to want to look at Euro and Aussie by themselves structurally. So structurally speaking, Euro very strong. You're trading quite a ways away from your weekly 21. Daily 21, not so much. And then Aussie, also strong. Away from the daily further. And maybe further away. So right now, the reason Aussie is stronger than Euro is because of gold and silver. Let's not make any jokes about it, right? Everybody knows what's going on with gold and silver right now. Everybody. So I think that's why you've seen such an aggressive rally on Aussie. Aussie used to be a lot more correlated with gold and silver, not so much anymore, but because silver broke out to 70, 80 bucks, Aussie did perform really well. Now, this could also be because of monetary policy. I don't watch the RBA, which is Royal Bank of Australia, I think, or something like that. I don't watch for those RBA prints. I just trade the technicals. When I get a technical setup, I trade it. That's all I do. So I'm not like some big macro guy, but keep an eye on those. That is setting up. That's why Pound CAD, Euro Aussie, the two top setups here. So, and the same thing can be said for either, right? If the breakdown fails and you start closing dailies back above your 21, then you would have a bullish bias instead of a bearish bias. Very choppy here. But when it trends, it can trend really good, really quickly. Same scenario. The longer you build in a range, the bigger the breakout could potentially be. So we'll see what happens here. But we only have a short side bias on the near term because you're trading under the weekly 21. And that's basically all I got as far as setups go on Forex. I mean, like I said, you could be looking for pound dollar shorts or euro dollar shorts, or I mean longs, sorry, if the dollar continues to weaken. Definitely don't want to be looking for euro dollar shorts right now. Where is euro dollar? There it is. Yeah, it's very bullish. It's actually working on a breakout here to the upside. Very, very bullish. Could this be a trap as it is the highest weekly close? It could be, but you can't even say that's a potential until you take out last week's low. I would look at any trading inside of last week's range as a pullback only. So like right here, right now, the best buying op with the structure that you currently have would be buy under yesterday's low and only if it rejects there. So you wouldn't be really looking to get long as long as you're trading under yesterday's low on an intraday basis. So if we take this out to the downside and then you see like consistent hourly closes under, then you're not looking to buy it. But if you put in like a weekly or a wick, like something like this, then I would want to see maybe something like this, but with an upside expansion. Clearly that is disgusting and doesn't look right at all. You get what I'm saying, right? And you could be long from here. And then of course you would want to see the rally, but that's just with the structure you have now. For euro dollar, like to be considered oversold on an intraday basis, like on a 4-hour time frame, you got to get way down into here. So this might not be the best buying opportunity. I'm only saying I could potentially be a buyer if it were to reject going lower below that. If it does start to trend under here, then the best setup is down in here. And that would also be about what you would expect it to do on a weekly time frame, right? Because there's last week's open. So you wouldn't be looking to be a buyer until then. Forget about October's open for now. I just want you to focus on the near term. So yeah, we lose this, then I can't be a buyer until down here. But I'd still be a buyer. That makes sense. So yeah, just on the near term, if it fails to go lower than that's where I'd be positioning myself. Dollar is currently breaking out above yesterday's high right now. We'll see if it gets any upside continuation. I do, if I look at this on my, I don't even have my stock broker pulled up because I'm not expecting anything major to happen this week. It's a very thin week. You are right now taking out yesterday's high. That really dollar hasn't really been helping Bitcoin or hurting it, I don't think. I think Bitcoin is basically just trading under its own order flow here. It's very sideways, very choppy. Last week's open right here. That's why you're finding a little bit of resistance here. Yeah, if that hour stays above the last hour low, I would still have, low, I would still have a bullish bias on it up to December's open. This is where the next big area of liquidity is on the upside. You could have a bearish bias on Bitcoin from here as well. I just wouldn't love it. It doesn't make it not a good setup. I don't love it. Because now you're changing the whole weekly structure around. You're now back to being bullish on the week. Bonk really not doing anything here. And that's, I mean, to see this heavy bearish delta and the fact that this thing isn't breaking down kind of makes me wonder. Like, are the sellers about to be exhausted? Are they trying to beat this thing up and they just can't because the buyers have already exhausted that supply? As if so, you're probably going to see an aggressive repricing back to the upside. Yeah, the best setup for the short would have been Fartcoin, and that obviously happened on Sunday. There's just not really any... I mean, there could be a setup here now on Fartcoin. I should have been paying more attention to it. We could have jumped on a short up in here. I wouldn't have loved it above that, but still. You're still well under the weekly open. I could be a seller on Fartcoin as high as 29.76. But not above that. Above that, I would leave it alone. ZEC still not breaking down. This is what we've seen a lot of lately. Just nothing. Like a whole lot of nothing. No continuation whatsoever. Obviously, we were looking to be a buyer on Friday on ZEC, but I didn't take the trade because it was too close to resistance. But I wish I would have now, in hindsight. That was a 17% move to the upside. That would have been a fantastic trade. And I would still be holding that long. So if you got long down here last week, Thursday or Friday on Zcoin, just because I opened a short up here does not mean you should close that long out. This structure is not bearish at all. I would still be holding because this looks like a squeeze. And squeezes can last for many days. So I'm not anticipating this breaks down. I want 50K Bitcoin, make it happen. I wish I could, slop bag. 50K Bitcoin would be a good place to be a buyer. That's where the 200-week simple moving average is. It'd probably be a pretty good place to be a buyer. As the simple weekly average has been in the past a decent place to be a buyer right here. Ooh, I don't have the 200 simple. There it is. And there it goes. So it has been a pretty damn good place. I mean, obviously, you've seen a lot more volatility when we lost those exchanges back in 2022. I almost said last year. But yeah. So, I mean, right now you're at the 100. You're actually testing the 100 simple. You're also testing the 100 EMA. Let's put this on 100 as well, as this is a simple. Boom. So this is why some people are very bearish, because last time we did this, we broke down. You know what I mean? But that was a pretty legit breakdown there. I mean, the candle itself put the averages around the midpoint. That's a pretty good identifier that, yeah, the breakdown is probably legit. And you probably shouldn't be looking to buy it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't always work out. Here's another time when it did that. But this was different. This was a whole different circumstance. This was coming back up to it. Yeah. It's just weekly support has been holding. Your range is super tight. Your candle bodies are just stuck. This is December's open. So you're stuck in between December's open and weekly support. One of them is probably going to lose. And when it happens, unless it's a big breakdown, I would still be worried that it's a trap. So basically, let's get a gray, because the gray is definitely what I'm using for bearishness. So if we saw something like this, I would still be concerned that this could be a buying op, because I would be afraid that the next week would open and do something like that. Now, if it's a serious breakdown and it looks something like that, that's much different, right? That suggests, yeah, the sellers were definitely hammering it. So, I mean, a breakdown, the first one isn't going to, I have a bearish bias on Bitcoin, guys, because of the structure. The structure is bearish. You've lost a 21. When you lose the weekly 21, we get bearish. That is our, that's our strategy. That's, if you're going to lose that and then trend, it's time to get bearish, because it couldn't hold. It couldn't hold that. Now, a lot of people use the 50 instead, which is the green line. But either way, it doesn't matter. You lost them both. So it does feel more like we're going to lose it, but it's putting in a reversal pattern here, regardless whether you want to agree to it or not. It is a descending wedge. And descending wedges are typically looked at for bullish breakout potential. Here was another one. Broke down, you put in the lower highs, right? It's a bullish breakout potential pattern, not a bearish breakout potential pattern. For the bear trap or bear flag, which you've lost already, right? You don't want the pole to be shorter than the flag itself. You want the pole to be bigger than the flag. So typically speaking, a bear flag should look like this, right? Not as big. Once you start getting into this territory, you're no longer a bear flag. Now, you could still break down. I'm not saying that it won't break down. I'm just saying you've got 3 weeks of breakdown here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of consolidation or distribution. We don't know which. We kind of do. We know it isn't. We know that the long-term holders are no longer distributing. They were distributing, and then we got down here. Let me refresh this just to be clear, just to be sure. So we got that huge breakdown. That was literally the last bit of selling that we've seen on the long-term holders. Now, just depending on which chart or which company you look at this data point on, you're going to see a different thing. So let me show you what I mean right here. So this long-term holder net position change, this is a 30 days out. So of course this is going to drop back to zero because the heavy selling stopped in December, right? So of course that's why I don't look at this one, because 30 days, not enough time. I want to see what is actually happening. This chart, because it's back to positive, there is a very, very small uptick there. And that's what's getting some people kind of bullish. Right here, you can barely see that uptick. So it's back into positive territory. But that's only because we're 30 days since the selling subsided. It doesn't mean it won't come back. That's why I like myself looking at this one instead, because we can clearly see heavy selling pressure and then no selling pressure, or also no buying pressure. Like that line hasn't shifted strongly back to the upside. It hasn't, bam, done that yet either. So when we see this, then we'll pretty much know that the sell side has probably been exhausted. But Bitcoin's price chart will have a big bullish candle before you will see the data print on this chart. So you almost have to anticipate what you think Bitcoin is going to do and position for that, right? Which is all we can ever do. But I'm not super bearish down here. Now, when we get back, if we get back above all this liquidity and we get up into the 100K spot, if it starts to show resistance up in there, then I probably would put on another short trade, just because I fat fingered my position. I closed it into here by accident. I wasn't meaning to close that Bitcoin. It was a hedge. I was going to leave that short on. That short was up here. We took that short up in here. I told you guys to short on Friday when it right in here, but my short was actually up here. And I just accidentally closed it. I put on two different Bitcoin positions and closed. I was trying to close the bullish position, but instead I closed the bearish position. Because on all my other assets, I have cross combined margin on, but on Bitcoin, I have it as cross separated. This allows me to open up both longs and shorts on Bitcoin. It doesn't move my cost basis around. So that was just a fat finger mistake on my part. I went and bought puts on IBIT to fix the mistake, because there wasn't a short trade to take in the futures market. Now, there could have been a short trade taken at the yearly opening, obviously. I just felt like it needed to go a little bit higher. But always remember, what you think will happen and what price will do is probably not going to happen. In a very weak asset, you don't need to see a big retracement. So if you're looking at the monthly candle and you're seeing a fresh breakdown, for instance, well, here, let me do this right here. So for instance, if you're looking at a big breakdown here and you're looking to short the retracement, you don't need to expect a retracement up to the 618 or the 786. Because if this is going to have continuation of weakness, you probably won't get even to the midpoint, because it's so weak. Because everybody's looking for a downside continuation move. So they start front running the retracement much sooner. And they did it here as well. They did it here as well. But the main reason why they did it there is because of the yearly opening range. This is your January open right there. So that's why they front ran the 50. And I just didn't put that together in time. I should have, but it doesn't really matter. Even if you would have shorted it there, I mean, there was money to make, but it hasn't gone anywhere. You didn't make a fresh low. So you've got next month, if you think it's going lower, to position, right? You've got next month. The first place to look for shorts will be right here. If Bitcoin is going to be bearish in January, right out the gate, then this would be my first area to look for positioning myself short. And that would be my secondary short side setup. All this stuff up in here is, if Bitcoin's going to be weak, you're probably not coming into there. But people use a million different things that they learn across social media and other places. And I'm sure people are going to be looking for shorts all the way up to here because of that, whatever. It doesn't have to do that, man. It could literally open and just dump right out the gate. It's like, I don't see the macro supporting that thesis, but it doesn't matter what the macro supports. Not really. We're technical traders, so we should always be looking for the technical setup. Screw the macro. Macro guys are always wrong too, right? It doesn't matter who you look at and listen to. Nobody has a 100% hit rate. We do pretty good over here. Thoughts on XRP? Yeah, sure. Let's go look at XRP for a moment. So obviously XRP is a little bit weaker than Bitcoin here, as you made a fresh monthly low. That just simply means that in the month of December you took out November's low. You haven't done that on Bitcoin yet. So this is a little bit weaker, but it's still doing kind of the same thing, right? It is trending lower, but you're still kind of trading in this range. So since we put in that candle on December, most crypto hasn't done anything, but it has been trending lower. So this is concerning. This looks like it's looking to go lower. So from week to week, now you're probably going to eventually, I don't know how much more time it's going to take, but you probably will see a big spike. I don't know how it closes, but you could see something like this, where you take out multiple weeks worth of highs, but then it ultimately gets faded. I would be looking for upside continuation if you close the candle looking like this instead. Right? You give me something like that, then maybe it continues. Right? If it has a big move intra week and closes up strong near the highs, then maybe you could look for a midpoint retest for longs or in here. But as long as it's weak like this, I think the best trade is to sell resistance until that changes. It hasn't changed. You can simply see how literally every single weekly high has been lower. And then when you got down in here, it's like it quit even trying. Like you couldn't even get a short off at 123. Like 123 got front ran. That's bad. Once you lost it, it gave it up. It gave up the ghost. Yeah, it's looking pretty rough out there. Same scenario. Let's pull up December's open. Here, we'll pull it up on the 8 hour. Where is the open here? Yes. Right there. So right into here, I would have expected upside continuation out of this, but then it just dried up. So because it dried up, I probably would have been looking for the sell at resistance. You need to see upside continuation. You need to see that. I don't know why it's not giving me more data over here. It's literally just December's data. Something's telling me I probably should not have updated it because I was getting quarterly data. Now I'm only getting monthly data. That sucks. I hope that doesn't work for Bitcoin as well. Hang on, I got to get back on exchange. Good, I still have lots of data. Going back to October at least on the intraday. But I mean, same thing here. You're not seeing the breakout continuation volume. See, look what you can see how you were getting big volumes. Big volumes. Bigger volume. And then more bigger volume. And then you're seeing the continuation building. That we'll look for the continuation trade once we start breaking out and getting continuation. We'll have a near-term bullish bias up to somewhere, or vice versa. If we get the downside break and continuation, then we'll be looking for lower prices, a fresh yearly low. Your April low is still the low for the year. You've not been able to take, you're not even close to that. So that's like a large downside target. So if prices fail in January and start to roll over, then I would be looking for this low to be taken out at a very minimum. Tertiary or primary would be here, but secondary, definitely yearly low. Bitcoin is struggling here at the daily 21 EMA. The day's close will be huge for Bitcoin. Huge. If it can close double the size that it is right now, that would look really good going into the rest of the week. So basically what I mean is I would like to see a candle close like this today. You give me that look today, tomorrow I'm buying here. Might even buy here. But if you fail to close above this today, like if you look something like this, I would love to see the VIX going up to get bearish. I can't really get bearish on the near term as long as the VIX is trading inside last week's range. If it's above last week's high, yeah, I can look for intraday shorts on Bitcoin. As long as the VIX is not above last week's high, it's a nothing burger. It's just a nothing burger. We got 19 minutes on this close. Dominance is strong today. That's kind of what I figured since Bonk hasn't broken out. This is another thing that will affect alts. Even if Bitcoin has a good up day, alts might not because of dominance. You almost need a Bitcoin up day and a neutral dominance for alts to have a really good day. Or we could get a good up day today on Bitcoin and then tomorrow be like an inside day or a doji, and then dominance could roll over, you could expect a huge upside day tomorrow on alts. Dominance is going to be a huge driver in what alts do. Like, what's Fartcoin doing right now? It still ain't rolling over, and dominance is strong, so that's kind of worrisome, or would be worrisome for some short traders here. I wouldn't be too concerned with it. I could probably short as low as 29.26 with a stop there. Shorting down here is too low. Doesn't look like a short though. It looks like it wants to keep going up, but you're still very neutral on deltas. I mean, not neutral, you're negative on deltas. And for that, I could short it, but I would like to get it as high as I can on the daily range. This thing still is not rolling over. I probably should have taken that short on XMR. XMR is just too close to potential support. It bounced from here last time. It doesn't make sense to short it down here when this would be your downside target. That's why I'm even trying to short this. This is not weak. It's struggling at least today. But doesn't feel weak. And the fact that this point of control migrated lower sucks too. Oh my goodness. It just feels like they're buying it. This thing always stops shorts out. Shorts did good when they shorted the top. If they shorted the top, they did real good on this. This asset lost 50% of its value. That's a typical, like a really good trade. If you got lucky enough to get that short in as close to those highs as possible, you did really good. If you held the trade all the way down to there. But the fact that it bounced off that weekly 21 so aggressively is not great. But this volume, not nearly as big as it was. So hopefully that works out for me. Still a lot more bullish volume in here than bearish volume. Yeah, I would love to see this thing get killed today, but I doubt it's going to. Zcash, very difficult asset to trade. Doesn't respect technicals that often. And it just seems like it takes very little bullish momentum to propel this thing to the moon. MCL Tech Analysis, please. MCL? I don't know if is that a stock? No. It's not a crypto either. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's definitely MCL. I have MCL in. I don't, could you be more specific? Run mountains. I don't know what you mean, man. Crude futures. Oh, okay. Well, I always look at the WTI chart. I'm sorry. I didn't, it didn't click. My brain's a little bit slow. Bear with me. It's at monthly support. It's at monthly support. It's been trending lower. I would still have a bearish bias on it. I mean, just for the technical setups, like on the intra-week time frame, it looks bearish. It looks weak. it's actually trying to break that weakness or that weak structure. As long as you're trading under daily res, the best trade I think for the short would be up there. But I mean, if it can hold a December open, I would have a bearish bias on it. If it can't break back out above that. But longer term, like, you could trade as high as 61.21 and still look for a short. Because 61.21 got front ran in December. You didn't get up there, right? You just couldn't get up there. Here's December's open. You fell shy. So this would be like the best area for the short. But if price rejects there, it's getting to the point to where it just seems like oil is running out of bearish momentum. But it has been trending lower for several months. Several months. You've been going lower. Oh, I mean, oil's not going anywhere, so I'm sure there's going to be some demand show up at specific prices. Since it's struggling to stay under 58.22, it makes it very difficult to look for the short down here. Because that's monthly support. And it will be until you close a month under it. You got 1 day, 7 hours left on this monthly close, so unless you get really bearish today or tomorrow, you're not going to close under it. It's a difficult short to take, knowing that you've been unable to close a monthly candle under that price, and you've been trying to. So since you put this in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 months you've traded under that price. That's like the same thing that's happening on Bitcoin right now is happening on oil. Your short sellers are creeping down lower. In other words, they are forcing lower highs on the larger time frame charts, but they're taking profits quicker. They're bailing on it quicker. So it's almost like it's getting, I probably would love to see that spike and then sell 61.25 and see what happens there. I think that would be a better setup. I don't love the setup here. I mean, you could make the argument on an intraday basis that as long as you're trading under monthly support, you could be short, but that means you're literally anticipating a big downside continuation move, and it seems like you would have got that from that move. Like, that was a pretty aggressive sell. And that's your monthly high for December anyway. So just fibbing December's range alone, this is where you would want to see weakness show back up again. But clearly the bulls were trying to buy the 618 and they got smoked. But this is where you would be looking for the short, but I just don't love it. I don't love the setup. I would rather short it at 61.25. It won't look bearish then, right? You'd be back above your January VWAP and all that stuff. It would look super bullish on the monthly range, but it wouldn't look so bullish if you're looking at multi-months worth of price action. Just depends on what your time frame is, right? Getting pretty freaking low, and it's been struggling to break down. A breakdown could be big, but I wouldn't expect it to get much under 50. I'd say 50, they turn the demand nozzle back on. Remember, oil is highly, highly manipulatable. Highly manipulatable. And the sweet spot for oil is between 50 and 70. As long as it's there, it's still expensive enough to be able to make money and still not crushing everybody else, right? So that's kind of the sweet spot. You're on the bottom edge of that sweet spot. It's a difficult trade. I haven't been trading oil as of lately. A couple weeks ago we were looking at it, but I look at it real simply. For it to go lower, it has to go up first. It could. I mean, the sellers aren't winning the battle. They did in November, no doubt about it. But in December, they have not been able to do anything. You have a strong dominance here, and Fartcoin is still not rejecting. I would really hate to put that risk on. Oh, bonk, stop me out. You piece of shit, I didn't even see that. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so mad. I didn't even see myself get stopped out of that trade. Oh, that burns my rectal hole. I can't believe that I didn't see that. Oh well. I'm not gonna chase it, but I definitely like the idea of being short or long under that white line. It's very annoying that I ate that stop. Didn't even see it happen. I'm looking at the bonk chart. I was wondering where my position went. I should not have put that stop loss on there. Damn it. It is what it is. I'll buy it if it comes back. 4-hour support is what I'll be watching. There ain't any 4-hour support on this chart. Let me... Ooh, no. Why does that say DXY on the bonk chart? There you go. 4-hour support. 77.21. Any pullback into that area, I'm buying bump. I'm setting a limit buy out there already. Oh. I should have just left it where it was. That's where it was. Kind of. 7714. Oh, you bastard. Was not paying attention. I should not have put that stop loss out. So dumb. I had a bullish bias. I should not have put that stop loss out there. Ugh. All right. Above December's high is when I'm going to look for signs of shorts. Yeah, that'd probably be a good spot to look. You're looking at like 95-ish up in there, in that area. Yeah, that'd be a good place to look. I got stopped out of a Bitcoin long yesterday. I actually bought 4-hour support yesterday and got stopped out right there. And that's annoying too, to wake up and see it up here. Knowing if that stop would have just been a little tiny bit wider, it would have been A-okay. And that would have been a decent trade. Almost 2%. Not far from hitting profit targets. But I expect if it breaks back out above that, it's probably going up into here. Jesus, man, that's really burning my ass because this week has been really not good. As of right now, I'm down on the week, which is the first week that I've had like that in a long time. Thanks to that bonk stop out, I'm down on the week. Damn it. Now, technically, I won't be, like, I could get out of the ZEC trade right now and it would be a neutral week. I'm down about what I've got on ZEC. But I'm going to be super pissed if bonk explodes back up into here. Because that's what I was looking for. Like, it was so easy to see that volume just was not doing it. You got big, massive sell side happening in here and it goes nowhere. So if it explodes up, I'm going to be very irate. Because that one trade could have turned the whole week around. Annoying. Tesla and MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is, like I said, I wouldn't really anticipate anything happening on MicroStrategy until December or January the 15th. So you'll probably trade sideways for another 15 days at a minimum here. You might be able to bounce out of this area and trade back up to like 175 or something. But I wouldn't really expect this to resolve until we get that news. Other than that, I mean, is this a buy? It's been a buy for me for weeks because you've been oversold for weeks. Weeks. So, I mean, I started buying MSTR in here. So clearly that trade is underwater, but if Bitcoin resolves back to the upside and goes anywhere, that trade will be in the good. I'm waiting for 90 to double down. I don't know that it'll get there, but it might get there if MSCI says no, get it out of the index products. That could be a very bad take or bad hit. So be very careful if you're trying to buy this with any kind of leverage. I just own the shares. My option trade is obviously going to expire worthless. But the shares that I put on, I actually thought we would bounce up to like 205 by the end of December, but I put that on in November. So clearly that's expiring worthless. But the shares I own, I'll be good at $200. I'll be back in the green. I don't own a lot of shares either, because you can always see more downside. Oversold does not mean it's going to reverse. It's just a good area to start buying in the past. That's it. Like in the past. When you get to these oversold areas, you want to start buying. I honestly think Bitcoin's going to do good in the future. So obviously, I expect MSTR to do good in the future. The biggest holder of MicroStrategy shares is an investment bank. And they're not cutting loose. This is mostly retail bailing and being liquidated. But at these prices, there is a premium on MSTR right now to Bitcoin. What was your other one, Tesla? Tesla tried and failed to break out. So that was grindy. It grinded that area for a while, and then it's starting to pull back a little bit here. But as long as you're trading above 390, I would like it up higher. Tesla's another one of those long-term plays that if they do what they are trying to do, obviously they're going to have ride-sharing cars riding around. You'll see them all over town. If it becomes a nationwide thing, you know how many Teslas will be on the road? Jesus, like this thing could be worth a lot of money, and that's not counting the robots. And as of right now, it's also a SpaceX play. Like, you can't invest in SpaceX shares. I think it's coming in 2026. But I saw something online the other day that said if SpaceX gets the evaluation that they want, Elon Musk will be the first $1 trillion man. The first man to hit $1 trillion worth of wealth. That is just absolutely insane. Can't even fathom what $1 trillion is. Insane. So yeah, maybe some of the Teslas, maybe some of these gains go out when SpaceX comes out, but I don't really see, like, right now markets aren't really bearish, and if we're going to see higher inflation, that's also going to bring stocks up. Valuations are going higher, because inflation is why these companies are trading at the valuations they're trading at right now. If there's more inflation in the future, higher valuations for asset prices. It's a good looking chart long term. It put in a nice bottom down in here. It accumulated its way out of there, and it has repriced up. Built-in support here at the yearly opening range took a while, and prices traded up. We built this little triangle formation. We were looking for it to go back up to the 2025 yearly opening range, which it did. Retested that and is higher. It's a good looking stock. It looks good. It looks like it's being accumulated on dips. So that's what I would be doing on it if I was looking to accumulate more shares of Tesla. As long as you're holding the weekly 50, probably a good investment. The weekly 50 comes in at 367, so it could pull back that far and I'd be a buyer. As long as it doesn't just drop right through there, like, without slowing down. I would want to see at least a couple weeks spend trading there. Show me that that accumulation is happening. But if this is going to remain as bullish as it has been since April, you're not going to get a 50 retest. You might get a 21 retest like you did here and here. I'm talking about on the weekly, right? This isn't the daily chart. This is a weekly chart. So 418-ish, 415, somewhere in there is where I would expect a near-term support to be. That's in this area here. It could obviously come in higher. I know that as it was grinding right here, it looked like it was going to break out, and because it didn't, and now you're seeing this sell-off, I wouldn't doubt it at all to see this thing break out in the next few days. Because we see that sometimes, right? You get up, you make a fresh all-time high, then you pull back. Everybody thinks it's going to be the end of the stock, and then boom, you're right back. There's really nothing that says we should be bearish stocks right now. I know a lot of people are, though, so it doesn't matter what I say. As long as you've got a low VIX, guys, you should not be looking to be sellers. Low VIX, you should actually be selling puts against your stock you own sell some calls. Selling calls limits your upside. That's why I have a kind of a big problem against selling covered calls. I definitely never would tell anybody to put on a naked short call strategy. That is blow your account kind of dumb. But by selling calls, you limit your upside. If you have 100 shares and then you sell one contract, you're limiting your upside, and that's not really what you want to do. However, with that being said, if you get on an asset that is super bullish, like gold or silver, that ends up becoming a really good system, because you can get called away with 100 more shares. So you're literally doubling up each time. Then that just makes your holdings bigger and bigger and bigger. So when it starts breaking out, you can make a serious truckload worth of money if you can handle that risk. I would say sell puts is a better strategy, because in a bull market, you're not anticipating a massive breakdown. I don't know what strike, like I wouldn't be selling anything, no puts here. I would wait for Tesla to pull back to like 425, and then I would sell like the 380s 30 days out, something like that. Because to be fair, you're wanting to take the shares at that price anyway. So it's just a way to generate income, but it's trying to break out here. Like you're trading at this price at a highest ever monthly close. Last month was a bearish engulfing. This month is a fresh all-time high breakout. So it looks like the sellers are stuck. Yeah, everything is kind of situated for a nice rally. I'm confused why Bitcoin hasn't rallied yet, to be honest with you. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's manipulation. I would just simply say it's been a lack of volume, a lack of buyers. People are so scared. You got big followers. You got people that have 500,000 to 1 million people that follow them, and they're as bearish as they can be. People ain't gonna listen. Here's a good chart. This is, you guys, I want you to look at this and really think about it. Like, really think about it. I gotta bring it down here. Let me pull up my web browser. And then boom, here we go. Just look at this chart. So the orange line is retail investors. Purple line is large investors, and the black line is price. You are seeing a massive pullback on retail investors. So retail is literally exiting, right? They're bailing. They have been for a long time also. But yet large investors are piling in. This is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now, I don't know if this is true or accurate. I don't know where the guy got the data from that put this chart together. I don't know, like I said, I don't know that it's completely accurate, but I do know this happens all the time. All the time. People are always super uber bullish on shit that is absolutely breaking out, going to the moon. They are more bullish than they have ever been on the asset, and that is literally when they should be taking profits. And then they are more bearish as humanly possible when they should literally be buying. People thought it was dumb to buy, and not dumb, but people were like super bearish even back when I was telling people to buy all of the tech companies. Back when Netflix was at $280 a share. I was like, you guys should be buying hand over fist right now. Everything, load the boat. You like Meta, buy it. You like Tesla, buy it. You like all of it, just buy it. Nope, everybody's bearish. Why would they buy something if they're bearish? You got to flip your perspective around. Don't just think about next month. Think about 5 years from now. When you put on an investment, you should be putting that investment on not with this year or even next year. Like if I'm going to go out and buy shares of a company, which I did, I bought shares of TSM or TMC, right? I bought some shares of that. I don't know where it is. Let me just pull them up here real quick. I bought shares of this company and I started talking about it a while back, like a long time ago. So I first started adding at $3, $3.50, and I will continue to add at $3.50. I think $3.50 is a good value for this company considering, but it's a huge risk. Obviously, what if they don't get the contract? Or what if they do get the contract and they don't start generating the kind of money they assume they were going to generate, right? Obviously, those are risks to investing. But when I invest into a company, I'm not looking for 2027. I'm looking for 2030, 2034. Like, out. Like $280 Netflix? Are you kidding me? That was a beautiful buy. Well, they split. And now it doesn't look good because it's $93 a share, but that just means how you got double the shares. This thing was trading up over $1,000, 1,300 at the highs at 2 something. Well, what if MicroStrategy does that same thing? Like today, I'm an idiot for owning MSTR at $200 today. I'm an idiot because it's trading for $157 per share. But what if 5 years from now, right? 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 years from now, what if this thing is up here? Like, then they're going to want to do another split. So the shares I bought here are going to double or triple or quadruple depending on how much they do the split. But like, that's what I'm talking about. Long term. Not right now. The near term trade I put on it was with options, and that trade's going to expire worthless. That's a losing trade. I thought we would bounce in December. We didn't. Not to where I thought we would bounce to. But yeah, I mean, now it looks pathetic. It looks terrible. Like, no way in hell would I buy that thing. But I'm talking long term. Long term. Not this year, not next year, not the year after. Years down the road. That'll be a good buy as long as Bitcoin stays doing what it's been doing its entire life. And what it has been doing its entire life, literally, is going up. It's just been going up. It's been volatile, but damn, man. The power law is insane. As long as it's staying in it, you need to be buying it. I mean, look at this too. Like, as it grinds that lower power law edge. Now, this chart is built different. It doesn't look like that, but Just look at it. Just grinding those lows. If Bitcoin was just what Peter Schiff thinks of Bitcoin, it should have died here. If not here, then definitely there, right? When it made this, it should have gave all that back. It should have came all the way back down into here, because Bitcoin is a Ponzi, right? It's worthless. It's computer code. It isn't worth shit. You can't physically hold it. Or governments are going to ban it. Or like all the FUD, dude. All of the FUD. Bitcoin has been FUDded more than any other asset class ever in history. Bitcoin is nothing but a tulips. I got news for you. Tulips didn't last this long. When tulips was a bubble, once it was bubble territories, exploding to the upside, it didn't last long at all. Bitcoin isn't a bubble. As long as it's trading inside of the power law, Bitcoin is something very special. No other asset in history has ever done this. Ever. This indicator doesn't really show you, because it's got some of the log regression curved in it as well, because we can't log the dates on TradingView. But here's another power law log indicator. It's a little bit more difficult to look at. Because it's looked at right here. So let me close that. Let's bring this up. So these are halvings. So the halvings are going to get doubly closer each time, right? Because that's how the power law works. Not only is the price on log, the date is on log as well. So the power law is a straight line. On the outskirts of it, it's, insane volatility. But you definitely should be buying on the low edge of it, as long as it continues to stay there. If it ever breaks out of this and then just consolidates and dumps, and then you will never get back in this, most likely. But obviously, big buyers have been scooping on these opportunities. No one ever dreamed that Bitcoin would hit $100,000. I remember Bitcoin trading for $3,000 a token. $3,000. I can't even fathom something that used to be. And when it was trading for $3,000, most people, that the naysayers of Bitcoin, say it's trading for $3,000 too much. The world has voted on Bitcoin. They have voted. $125,000 a token that it hit. Will it hit 250, 300? I have no clue. But as long as it's respecting the power law, I think the risk is too great not to own at least a little bit of it. At least a little bit of it. I don't like that one. This one's a little bit better because it just fits better. Looks really good. And the kind of the worst part about it is when it rolled over and broke down in 2022, it never ever got super volatile to the upside again. So now will be the true test for Bitcoin and the power law moving forward, won't it? Because it could never get going really good up above all that. And it did the prior two cycles. It got extremely volatile. There was 4 months of upside, another 5 months of upside there. We couldn't even break 1 month out above it this time. And we'll see. I don't know that it's going to stay in here, but there's another 55K marking the bottom. There's a lot of stuff coming in at 55K. Your 200 weekly, the power law, oversold on the weekly RSI. It'll be about there as well. I just think it's a great investment long term. It's, if you want to make money trading it, it can also be a good tradable asset. It's just, I think you're going to do better on Fartcoin, other alts, things that move a lot more than Bitcoin. But clearly, Bitcoin can be traded. That's how I accumulated so much of it. So it could break down, but as of right now, it's still respecting that. As long as you're in the red, it's a buying op, the way that I look at it. Long term. I have 3 profitable longs since November, but only because I took partials. Good stuff. That's the best way to do it. Even after December 26 options expiring, still stuck in a range. That's because the options expiring was not the reason for Bitcoin's price action. People are trying to put reasons on it, right? Instead of just focusing on what it's doing, they're trying to create a narrative because they get paid by clicks and views and stuff, right? Most of those bigger accounts that you're looking at, they're not even traders. Not in real life. They are on social media, but not in real life. So they're just trying to create a narrative, a spin, hype, because that's how they get paid. That's what they are. They're entertainers. So they need to create this narrative of it's, whales selling calls. So once those options expire, Bitcoin's going to the moon. No, that's not true at all. Once you get bid volume showing up, then Bitcoin will go to the moon. Or once you exhaust the sell side, it'll go to the moon. The options expiry today to 26. So yeah, that's true. We should be on January's expirations now. They just got rolled, right? They probably just rolled them. Rolling is a thing. Like you can roll your contracts out to the next expiration. So that liquidity buildup is probably building up right now. Open interest needs to build up again. When we drop, we liquidated 35% of all of Bitcoin's open interest. All of it. All the open interest. Every bit of it up until this point in time. 35%. That's damn near half of all the open interest was liquidated. It's going to take months for that to build back up. You could trade sideways here for another month. I don't know that you will. Januaries are a pretty good time. You will see probably some fluctuations of price in January because people are going to be putting on new positions. But yeah, this year is pretty much in the books. So a lot of people haven't even been trading the last 2 weeks. What you see going on here, remember, we want it to close up in here. If it closes up in here, that'll be a good thing. It doesn't mean we'll see upside continuation, but at least it's a start. This candle closing up here will look 10 times better than this one did. We need to get some consistent daily closes above. That in itself will bring buying volume back, because your bots and algos that are buying 21 retests, they'll be turned back on. So this smells like sell side exhaustion to me. But the close is what's going to be important. We need that strong close today. We need to see those bots and algos turned on tomorrow. And then hopefully we get a big gigantic day on Thursday while nobody's trading. Everybody will be watching Bitcoin's price on New Year's Day with a hangover. And it would be nice to see a big rally. But if the 4-year cycle model stays intact, you won't. You will not see a big rally. We can go back and look at the last time the cycle model played out. Now, to be fair, it had high inflation also helping it. Right? Big inflation was helping the bears with the 4-year cycle model. Right there was January 1. You can see what Bitcoin did. It had a nice little spike that day, but then it puked 3-4 days later. But this is what we don't want to see next week. Clearly. Let's go back to January 2023. January 1. Right there. This is the kind of price action we want to see at the new year. Look how pathetic those daily ranges were back then. That up day right there was less than 0.5%, or right at 0.5%. Very tiny volumes, kind of what we're seeing now. But this is what we want to see the first part of January. We'll see if it happens or not, but only time will tell. And then ultimately and lastly, 2024's open. Right there. Yeah. That looked good. This looked bad. But then it came right back. So if you get this kind of price action, then buy it moving forward. If you get the kind that does that, then sell it. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to wonder or worry about what's going to happen. You don't have to say, well, if this happens, then, I mean, just, that's it. Whatever happens to the yearly open and how Bitcoin trades after. That's what's going to drive decision making moving forward. If it consistently stays above the yearly opening range and builds in support there, people are going to be buying it. It's a new year, new macro, new everything. New positions. People that's never bought Bitcoin before are going to have an opportunity to be able to be a buyer of Bitcoin. It's going to drive order flow. And order flow is going to move price. We can draw all the lines we want on our charts. We can pull all the fibs from every wick and every candle body ever made. It isn't going to, that's not going to make a damn bit of difference on what price is going to do. Order flow drives price. Sentiment drives price. We'll see what happens. It's easy enough to trade the ranges. You guys are getting good enough at this now. You should be able to, you should be cleaning the clocks on Bitcoin right now. Well, not right now because it hasn't done anything. But when the volatility comes back, not necessarily volatility, just ranges. When volume comes back and we start seeing, you know, bigger ranges, it'll get fun again. It'll get fun again. Bitcoin could go to 50K It's not going to go there in 2 weeks. It's not going to go there in a month, right? It's going to take time to go anywhere with the volumes that we have right now. Hopefully that volume comes back into the market in January and we get to start over again. Are we getting a move on this finally? Not really. But at least it's breaking down now. At least it's heading in the right direction. So I would rather see that than the big bullish candle. So this might end up working out for me. I hope it does. Otherwise, I'm going to take this into the end of the week with a loss. It's been very sluggish. It's not just in a couple markets. It's market wide. I mean, a couple assets. Bonk has been absolutely sideways. Fartcoin gave us one opportunity on Sunday, and I was in bed. I was in bed when this happened. I actually put the short on down here and obviously got stopped. That's why I'm going into this. I'm in a loss right now. I put a couple trades on this week that have not played out. I do have red weeks occasionally, but not very often. So, and this week ain't done yet. The only trade I have open right now is ZEC because of Bonk getting stopped out. But Bonk really hasn't gone anywhere yet. So I'll still be able to potentially get positioned in this. Don't necessarily know that I want to if Bitcoin does good and Bonk does nothing. Because people could just be done with Bonk. It is a meme token after all. It is a big fat useless nothing. It is worth nothing. Most likely. Same with Fartcoin, but Fartcoin has good volumes and good price ranges on an intraday and intraday basis. So a lot of people just love trading Fartcoin. I'm one of them. When it moves good. Just shorting that, waking up the next morning, right? In here, 7 a.m. That's an 8% drop. So selling anywhere in here would have been a great trade, or buying back your short position would have been a great trade to take on Fartcoin, but I missed it. I got stopped out. And we knew this was the best place to sell it. I just didn't set a standing order because I had an open position already. XMR could, I mean, I don't like it because of where it is as support, but if it fails to go higher than 439, I think it could potentially be a short. I like it better up here. Let it come into this resistance level here and let the sellers show back up, as that would get it off that December open and away from that VWAP farther. It's a better opportunity. That gives you a 4% move back down into support. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Where's USD CAD at? Probably, or pound CAD. Probably, yeah. Hey. Look at it go. My crypto account will be red. Forex is still yet to be determined. I took a trade on it yesterday. I got stopped out. So, but this one is paying off. This one is paying off. Nice. That's what I like to see. Now, hopefully we can get the break down under this support. This is the main support level right here. So this is going to be, it's going to be crucial that it holds, but hopefully it should. This one might work out. All right. Any other questions? Go for the revenge trade on Bonk, brother. No, I don't chase price. Nope. Because look, it's going to come back. I don't need to chase it. Don't need to chase it. It'll come back. See this right here? Your deltas are bearish. Don't ever chase a bullet. Don't ever chase a bullish trade when your deltas look like this. Ever. You can take the trade, but just don't chase the trade. Because chances are this thing's going to be down on the day. This volume is trending. It's not sideways. See how you could be sideways? When the volume is trending, you got to be careful. This isn't a really good, you can't really see it here, but usually, right? Usually, when you have trending volume, you'll see a trending move take place. Not always, though. But yeah, I got to be very, very... I'll take it one more time at support, but only if support holds. I've already been stopped out of it twice today. Each time I lose, that's $60 plus probably another 10 in hidden fees. So I got to be very careful. Otherwise, then I'll dig myself into a hole. I won't, even if I do end up nailing a good trade on ZEC, it won't pay out enough to cover the losses. It's just now starting to head lower. This needs to trend lower in order to make good money on it. Right now, even though I got that 30-minute drop, the amount of P&L didn't really change that much. Because it's not that big of a move. It looks big, it's just not. Not that big at all. This was a 16% rally. I'm not expecting a 16% drop. If I could get it down to yesterday's low, that would be a beautiful, I think that would probably be good. That would probably be a pretty good trade. I'm actually up here. Yeah, that would be a good trade. Let me make sure I'm up there. I don't know for a fact that I'm up there. Let's see. Yeah, I'm up there. Pretty much nailed the top. Pretty much got it. So, yeah, you're into support here. I would love for that volume to keep trending the way that it is now. So it's starting to look good. It's starting to shape out like I might be able to get a downside continuation move out of it. But what I've experienced with this asset more than any is it can look good and then end up doing that. And when that happens, unfortunately, the price candle can look like that. Yeah. This thing is bonkers. But it's looking a little good. It's looking a little bit better. Things are still... It's at support. Hopefully the sellers jump on it lower. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with it. Yeah, but Thursday will be the new year, so obviously there will be no stream Thursday. I might do a public live stream Friday. It just depends on what we see on the new year. If we have like a really good volume day on Thursday on Bitcoin and other crypto markets, then I would expect there to be at least a retracement on Friday. So we might do a live stream on Friday, depending on what Thursday does. If Thursday's a big nothing like Christmas was, then there probably will not be a stream for public on Friday. But for everybody else, obviously, we'll be live every day except Thursday. Thursday, there's really no point to go live. Well, we'll see what happens. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure code is not real, so the internet is not real. Oh, okay. I was just making sure that wasn't a question. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys have a fantastic New Year's Eve and a fantastic New Year's Day. And I'll see you next year. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.